Hey, Mr. Snyder here. Today we're going to be talking about dividing fractions. This is one thing that I know people mess up a lot, so let's really play close attention. Play close attention? Man, I can't talk today. Pay close attention to what we're doing today to make sure that you in the future don't make mistakes. Let's get started. Okay, the problem that we're going to begin with is 5/7 divided by 7/10. Now, I'm not very good with dividing fractions. In fact, nobody is. Therefore, we have to convert this problem into a multiplication problem. One thing that people do often is to just say 5/7 divided by 7/10. Psh, haha, I can just go ahead and multiply that up. Not a problem. So what they do is they go 5/7 times 7/10. And pretty much what they've done is rewritten the problem, but instead of a divided sign, they put a multiplication sign. This is the wrong thing to do. Because if it was truly this, why did they even have a division problem in the first place? You're just like rewriting the problem differently. It's kind of like saying, 2 plus 2, let's write that as a subtraction problem. 2 minus 2, we know that we would never do something like that because obviously that is just not the same thing. Therefore, this logic right here, no good. Let's not do that, okay? However, when we multiply fractions, what you're going to remember that you have to do is take the first fraction, leave it unchanged. Now, the second fraction, we are going to do something that's called reciprocate it. What that means is it's a fancy word for just flipping it over, okay? So really, the correct multiplication problem of this division problem is 5/7 times 10/7. And that gives you your correct division problem, okay? So let's go ahead and do that, okay? So we learned last time that we multiply across the top. That's going to be 50. And 7 times 7, well, that's just going to give us 49. We asked ourselves, can this be reduced? And the answer is no. 50 and 49 don't have anything common together other than 1. So we are done. All right, so that's all done. There's another thing I want to show you real quick before we move on is this problem right here could have been written out a little differently. For example, it could have been written out like this: 5/7 divided by 7/10. Okay. What I tell people to do in this situation is to just rewrite it like we have up here, because then that just kind of makes things just a little bit easier. I don't know, that's just me. Or some people, like when they get a little bit better, can go from this step to this step here. Okay, so it really just depends on how comfortable you are at skipping steps and stuff like that. Okay, now you're probably wondering, like, well, why this whole reciprocal thing? Why does that happen? Why does that work the way it does? Let me just show you a quick example on why. Okay, that works. Let me clear the page real quick. Let's just take a very simple division problem: 15 divided by 3. Say it with me now. 15 divided by 3 is, you're not saying it. Say it. It's 5. All right, here we go. All right, so 15 divided by 3 is 5. Now, let's go ahead and look at this if this were a fraction problem. 15, if it was made into a fraction, would just be 15/1. 3, if it was made into a fraction, would just be made into 3/1. Let's go ahead and multiply the reciprocal. So we have 15/1. Notice that I'm not leaving it 3/1, because if that were the case, let me just show you, it would look like this, and 15 times 3 is 45/1, which we know is not the same answer as that. So this, again, is not correct, okay? So let's, again, multiply the reciprocal. So 15/1 times 1/3, okay? And that equals 15/3, okay? 15/3, again, we can just divide that and find out that, again, that's just going to be 5, okay? So that will be the way we do it, okay? So let's try another problem real quick, okay? All right, so the next problem that we're going to try, let's just up the ante a little bit and let's get a little bit more difficult. So 8/35, okay, and let's divide that by negative, and let's put this in parentheses, -1/10. All right, so we got to multiply the reciprocal here. Okay, so let's make it into a multiplication problem. 8/35 times 10 over 1. Now, some people kind of struggle with like, well, where do I put the negative? Do I leave it with the 1 on the bottom? Do I leave it with the 10? It really doesn't matter. What I like to do is I like to just, because it's just a fraction, as long as one of the parts of the fraction have that negative sign, it will stay a negative number. What I like to do and get into the habit of doing is just leave it always with the top number. Therefore, you don't have to have any confusion on where it should go. So I'm just going to put that up with the 10. All right, so let's multiply across the top. We get 8 times negative 10, which is negative 80. And then on the bottom, we get 35 times 1, which is just a whopping 35. Okay, we know that this is reducible. So let's look at top and the bottom. They're both divisible by 5. So I'm going to divide the top and bottom by 5, okay? And that will help reduce, okay? So negative 80 divided by 5 is going to give us that negative 16. And then 35 divided by 5, well, that's just going to give us a 7, okay? So negative 16 over 7 is the correct answer. Again, both of these are not divisible by anything other than 1, so we are done. All right, so let's go on to the next one and the last one for today. Let me clear the page. The next one is going to be the hardest one we've done so far. We got negative 18 over 63 divided by, let's do this in parentheses again, negative 54 over 35, okay? Well, the first part's not hard. Let's just go ahead and get into a multiplication format. Negative 18 over 63. And if you don't mind, I am going to get rid of the parentheses, okay? So I'm going to put the 35 up top. Again, I'll just put the negative up there again because I like to leave the negatives on top because, again, it doesn't confuse me as much. And now I just have to multiply across the top and multiply across the bottom, okay? Now, there are ways to do this because this is going to be kind of yucky. I'm going to show you kind of a cool trick on the calculator today to how to deal with these bigger problems like this, okay? So negative 18 times negative 35. Let's go over the calculator. All right, here we go. So negative 18 times negative 35 is going to give us 630 because a negative times a negative is a positive. That we do know, hopefully. Let's put 630 up here on the top. All right, now on the bottom, we got 63 times 54. Another number that I could do mentally, but today I don't really feel like it. All right, so let's go ahead and multiply those out, and I get 3,402. All right, now, guess what? I have this, colors. I have this sneaky suspicion that you could actually reduce this. And this could take a long time. Like I could start out probably just dividing each of those by 2 and then dividing it by something else and then dividing by something else. Eventually I'll get down to reduced form. But you know what? I'm feeling kind of lazy today. So let me show you a cool trick on the calculator if you're ever in this scenario, especially on like a test or something like that. So we got 630 divided by 3,402. Let's go ahead and not type in the wrong thing. Let's go ahead and type in these numbers. Again, the wrong thing. Oh, man, messing up today, I'm telling you. 630 divided by 3,402 gives me this decimal. Now, I don't want you to write your numbers out in decimals, especially if we're playing with fractions. However, what I can show you is this cool little trick. So, get your decimal on your calculator. Then what I want you to do is go to what I call the Book of Knowledge. It's this little book thingy over here on your calculator. Click it. And it usually comes up onto this screen right here with a bunch of different things that you can enter. There are different functions and stuff like that. Go to the second one, and what you'll see is it gives you a lot of different numbers. Like, are you doing numbers? Are you doing angles, lists, matrices, vectors, algebra, calculus, trigonometry, whatever. We're just dealing with numbers, okay? And if you click down there, it's going to open up another section, and it's going to say a couple things like convert decimal, approximate the fraction. That's what I want to do. And what it will do for me, okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit enter here, is it's going to take the answer and try to approximate it into a reduced fraction. So let's see what it does. Ooh, there we go. It goes ahead and types all the fancy stuff for you so you don't have to worry about it. But it does pop out a reduced fraction, and that is the answer. So it's a cool little trick you can use on your calculator. You can use that a lot, actually, and it's very useful. So let's go ahead and write that down. So the answer is 5 over 27. Alrighty. So with that being said, hopefully that helped you. The next video that we're going to be looking at is going to be finding the greatest common denominators and stuff like that, and changing the denominators to whatever number you'd like. I will see you then. See ya.